Chapter 1. The Press Conference. On an early spring morning in New York, thick clouds hung low in the sky, wrapping the city tightly, and the heavy atmosphere swallowed even the distant sounds of the bustling streets up. A crowd filled the scene at the press conference in front of the United Nations headquarters. Journalists gathered in the square below the podium, their camera flashes popping in quick succession. The female spokesperson from the U.S. Department of Homeland Security slowly stepped up to the podium, her expression serious, her hands tightly gripping her speech, betraying the tension within her. After pausing for a breath, as if gathering strength, she spoke in a deep and firm voice. "Thank you all for coming. Today, we will reveal to the world a decision of monumental importance, one that concerns national security and the future of humanity." The murmurs of the crowd abruptly ceased. Everyone held their breath, silently waiting for the revelation. In the back of the crowd, Emily T. Carter quietly observed the spokesperson from the distance, her camera steady and focused on her. As a seasoned journalist, her professional instincts made her hyper-aware of every shot. She caught the brief flicker of hesitation and unease in the spokesperson's eyes. Emily furrowed her brow, her heartbeat quickening. The spokesperson paused for a moment, seeming to check if each word she was about to speak was the right one. Before continuing, she softly sighed and said, "Decades ago, the government contacted an extraterrestrial civilization." A wave of discussions and exclamations quickly broke the deathly silence in the room as people processed the gravity of the statement. The spokesperson spoke again, her tone even graver, as if every word she spoke carried the weight of the world. "Today, we will lift this veil and disclose the truth to all of humanity." As soon as the spokesperson finished her sentence, the room erupted. Reporters clamored to raise microphones, rushing toward the stage like a tidal wave. Excited, angry, and anxious voices intermingled, flooding the room in a chaotic frenzy. But Emily felt as though she were in another world. She completely ignored the surrounding noise, her gaze fixed firmly on the spokesperson, her finger repeatedly pressing the shutter to capture this historic moment. "The government will release more details over the coming months. Please understand, whether the decision made at the time was perfect or not, the government always prioritized the welfare of humanity. Thank you." The spokesperson finished her brief closing statement and turned, skirting the stage, leaving behind a scene of confusion. After the press conference, Emily didn't leave with the other reporters. She stood alone at the edge of the square, her hands in her coat pockets, staring at the crowd dispersing in the distance. An indescribable feeling, a mixture of excitement, confusion, and fear filled the air, the chilly spring breeze slowly carrying it away. She pulled out her camera and flipped through the photos she'd just taken. One image froze the moment the spokesperson turned and left the stage, her shoulders slumped, her steps hurried, an unmistakable posture of escaping. "Emily!" a familiar voice called from behind. She turned to see Jonathan Blake walking toward her with 2 cups of coffee, his face lit with excitement. "That press conference today is bound to shake the entire world." Emily took the coffee and nodded slightly without saying much. Her mind, swirling like fog, drifted upward to the overcast sky. Why would the government choose to disclose the truth now? What motives lay hidden behind this? Jonathan heard a commotion and turned toward the street across from them, his brow furrowed. "Look over there, it's already starting." In the distance, 2 groups of people were marching in protest. What had started as shouting slogans quickly escalated into shoving and fighting, and the intense struggle spread rapidly to the center of the street. "Ridiculous," Jonathan muttered under his breath, taking a deep gulp of his coffee. Dripping with sarcasm, he continued, "For decades, people have written off all the urban legends about aliens, Roswell, UFO crashes, little gray men, even reptilians, as crazy talk. They spent so much effort covering up the truth, and now they say it was all to protect us." He snorted. "Do you believe that?" Jonathan took another sip of his coffee and suddenly let out a low laugh. "You know, to aliens, we're just 2 steaks." Emily frowned. "Steaks?" "Yeah, one's medium rare, the other's medium well." Jonathan made a cutting gesture with his hand, his tone dripping with irony. "You see, the medium rare steak always tries to convince the medium well steak that it tastes better." Emily couldn't help but laugh. "So, They're simply comparing whose taste is better? Pretty much, Jonathan shrugged, a bitter smile crossing his face. The sad thing is, this sound argument won't change one fact. We're both gonna get eaten. He sighed, lowering his voice, a hint of alertness creeping into his tone. I think there's something else going on behind today's press conference. Emily nodded, her gaze still fixed on the chaos in the distance. Whether there's a conspiracy, I at least want to figure out. Whose pawns are we? After parting ways with Jonathan, Emily made her way through the noisy crowd, heading to the cafe across the street. Inside the cafe, the rich aroma of coffee filled the air, causing her to relax involuntarily. She chose a seat by the window and set her laptop down gently on the table, opening the screen. The shouts and commotion outside felt irrelevant, as the screen before her was her true battlefield. In her inbox, an encrypted email caught her attention. The sender had masked their address, making it impossible to trace the email's origin. She opened the message, and a few short but chilling lines of text appeared.
A foundation of light, yet filled with darkness. A revered scholar, yet a demon. Dare you expose it all?
Emily's gaze lingered on the mysterious email, her brow furrowing slightly, a sense of unease rising within her. Just as she was contemplating the content of the message, her phone rang. Emily, her mother's voice came through, filled with concern. I just saw the live broadcast. Are you okay? I'm fine, Mom. Emily tried to keep her voice light. The press conference probably shocked everyone. Yeah, what happened today surprised me too. They exchanged a few more words, and Emily ended the call. She set the phone down, the screen's light gradually fading, casting the reflection of the gray sky outside the window. A gust of wind swept through, sending a flurry of scattered flyers fluttering through the air.